But for right now.
But for right now, Grace Clapham. Rishad was like, "You're pronouncing her name wrong." Clapham. I kept saying Kaplan?
Kaplan.
Kaplan. Uh, Grace is the head of community partnerships at Facebook at APAC. She's here today to talk about how to go about building, finding, engaging with your communities on Facebook, which is obviously a very big platform for many users out here. Grace, we're so happy to have you. Please take it away.
Thanks, guys. I'm really happy to be here and excited, and what a great community you all have here. So let me get started, and I will share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yep, it's coming right up. Perfect.
All
yours.
Fantastic. So hi there, everyone. I'm Grace Clapham. You pronounce my name perfectly. Some people will call it differently, but whatever floats their boat. I am head of community partnerships for APAC, and as I said, I'm really thrilled to be here. And today I'm going to share a little bit more around, building communities through Facebook groups, but also ways that you can find or engage with communities. So just a little bit more around our team and the work that we do. Our team's mission is really to support community leaders to start, grow, and sustain meaningful communities that positively impact lives. And the work we do provides communities access to support, tools, resources, as well as funding through programs such as our Community Accelerator. So whether you're a community leader, or a publisher or a small business owner, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few insights in here and tips that you can take away from today. But just really before starting, I'd love to know from the audience how many of you are part of Facebook groups. So maybe we can just have some comments shared, or what groups you're a part of, and if you run any communities. Great. If you want to share any of them in the comments, feel free to do so as well. I think it's always really interesting to share the types of communities that each one of us are in and really show the strength of communities in itself. So in today's session, we're going to cover a couple of things. We're going to talk about the power of connecting and building communities, but we'll also cover how businesses can engage or create and manage groups, how to discover Facebook groups or communities that are relevant for you, and then touch on tips for running a successful community. So let's get started. Now, in 2017, Facebook launched the new mission to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. And communities are a central need in the human experience, yet we are less connected now than ever before to communities in the way that we were used to before. So we realized that Facebook and Facebook groups specifically was where community was coming alive, or was still alive. And there are tens of millions of groups on Facebook. I mean, on my slide, you'll see the variety of groups that there are, but we hear from many people how when they find the right ones, it really becomes the most meaningful part of how they use Facebook. There are more than 800 million people living in APAC that are part of over 35 million Facebook groups active in the past month. And we see people use Facebook groups to find meaning, support, and really connect with others who share a common interest or cause. There are groups for pretty much everything, for new parents, health challenges such as diabetes support groups, or groups supporting educators, such as one in Thailand called the Global Educators Collective, where they create a safe space on Facebook or using Facebook groups for educators to connect, share best practices and resources, and also support one another. And we've really seen that coming together online can strengthen communities in person. We see this when people use Facebook groups to stay in touch, plan activities with others from their neighborhood, local organizations, schools, etc. And we've also heard from people who have made new friends or strengthened existing bonds through the groups that they've joined or events that they've attended, be it now online or offline. So at Facebook, we spent a lot of time really trying to understand community, but we've also spent a lot of time across the company to define what community is and what it means. And essentially, community is a collection of people who receive a sense of belonging, connection, and feeling of safety, and give trust and investment over time. And that is one of the powers of community, is that sense of belonging and that ability to give trust to a group or a space, and really be able to connect with others. So when people are members of a community, they feel that strong psychological connection to each other, and they really grow to care about each other, and they feel they belong together. So I'll dive into the power of Facebook groups. The power of Facebook groups are extensive, but there are three key areas. And I'll share. The first one is really connecting with your tribe. It's an opportunity for you to connect with others who share a common cause or interest. And next is the ability to learn and share from others. So Facebook groups have become really an important part of helping people connect or form online communities across a wide range of interests, but also a wide range of life stages. And for example, for me, when I was a new mother, I joined various mother or parenting groups, and that really provided me a lifeline and a support. But I also learned a lot in this safe space. So groups provide that opportunity for people to talk and learn and share with one another. And lastly, groups are an ideal place for you to get involved and be part of the conversation around topics or areas of interest for you and your business, even without creating your own group. As a business, groups provide an excellent opportunity to have conversations with potential customers. So becoming part of a group can also help you amplify your visibility, and being part of real-time conversations that are happening. And when you show up and become active in any community, you then build trust and you can be perceived as an expert, all by just sharing and contributing to what you know. As you think about groups for your business, there's a couple of areas that I think we can dive into a little bit more, but communities can really be valuable for at any stage or business situation a brand or business finds itself. And as long as it's aligned with your business objectives and your goals. So groups for business pages can be a great opportunity for brands to discuss with their audience or their customers, to connect with their customers, and really form a bond or a sense of belonging and a community around. In particular, some of the things we've seen is around common interests, say book clubs, or passions or causes, otherwise key issues that may be of relevance to your business, as well as your audience and your community, or any other activities your business is focused on. So there are several ways that businesses can build community. And touching on the first one, it's really about connecting with existing communities. So for some businesses, it may be beneficial for you to join a Facebook group or an existing Facebook group, versus creating. For example, you could be a small publisher or in Australia, and you can connect with other Facebook groups that have audiences across the globe that may be an area that you're interested in expanding into or connecting with. And these are already, on the platform, and participating in the conversations will allow you to understand maybe the community better, connect more, and build relationships that you may not have had previously. So engaging with an existing community can help you find or connect with potential new customers. Another way that businesses can use Facebook groups is to create your own community for your business. So, creating your own Facebook group means that there's a lot of additional time required on it as well, but making sure that it's really aligned to your business objectives. So creating and moderating your own business group requires you to dedicate time building that group and really managing the entire group experience. But that's also an opportunity for you to create the experience that you want for your community and use your group for a certain or a specific purpose that aligns with your business objectives. So, one example in the publishing world is that we've seen is parenting in a Wired world. So where Wired writers and editors, gosh, that's a mouthful, Wired writers and editors who are, of course, parents, jump in or are engaging in discussions and provide insights for parents who have questions about technology and raising kids in a digital environment. And this really allows them to leverage their internal talent but is also aligned with their brand. Another example is PBS NewsHour and the New York Times have a Now Read This group, and it's a 60K strong group that is a book club. And every month they launch a new book for members to read and discuss in the group. NewsHour sources questions from the group for the monthly interviews with authors of the month's book. They host live Q&As with the audience. And this has helped the PBS NewsHour build up a loyalty with their audience, and also that it's, cross-pollinating with the New York Times, so they both can promote it. They can cross-pollinate fans, so each may have additional new subscribers from the other. So those are just some examples of how businesses have used Facebook groups. One other way we've seen are when customers actually create groups related to your product or service. So for example, Evolve Skateboards, they saw riders groups pop up all over the world after they launched. They don't manage these groups, but they do keep informed, and they do keep them informed on things like new product launches or news. So those are just some examples, but groups are a great way for you to build community around an area that is aligned with your brand and business. And groups are where you grow deeply loyal audiences by connecting to their interests and enthusiasm around topics that are important to them, but also important to your organization. And by building these strong communities within your audience, you're also able to connect them to each other or others who are passionate about the same topics or interests. So for those of you who have business pages, many of us have profiles. Many of us may have in this audience business profiles. So groups are easily linked and can be highlighted on your Facebook business page. And it's a great way for you to attract or work with your existing audience and bring them into a community if that's something you're looking to do. So in the same way that individuals have those personal profiles, businesses too have the Facebook business pages. And both individuals and businesses can use groups. So, as a business, once you create a group page, you have an opportunity to, a link will appear on your business page so people can follow your page easily. And those who are following your page can also see the group page that you've created. So if you're thinking about Facebook groups and if a group would be right for your business, just a couple of things, to think about. And in particular, if a group is right for your business, then to one of your goals, it would be around, enhancing an emotional connection with your audience, or the opportunity to speak with customers who share a passion relevant to your business, or an opportunity for you to provide education or best practices, or expertise around a service or product. And lastly, really, it's an opportunity to establish that strong relationship with your audience and loyalty. So if that's something that you're looking to do, then perhaps groups is the right way for your organization. But if you're not ready to create a Facebook group for your business, what do you do? As mentioned earlier, you don't always have to create a community on your own, but you can also engage or connect with existing communities. So how do you do that? When we're talking about discovering communities, I'll share a little bit more, but as we're talking about discovering and engaging with groups, it really does depend on your organization's objectives. So we suggest really searching for communities that resonate with you and where you want to go. And then joining the communities that you think you can add value to, because a community is about a two-way exchange and really being able to engage and build value on a two-way relationship. But also engaging with the communities is important. So when searching for communities to engage with, think of your own reasons for using Facebook groups. Some of you shared earlier that you were parts of in Facebook groups or a member of a Facebook group. So think of your own reasons for using Facebook groups. What motivates you to join a community, or what motivated you to join that community? What information or connections are you looking for? And what support do you need or are looking for? And even then, you can flip these questions to think about it for your organization. And then lastly, think about who are you trying to connect with and why. And I think those are some really good initial questions as you think about discovering communities for you or your business. So from there, as you start to research the communities you could add value as a brand or as an expert, think about what your audience cares about and what their interests are. And then see if there's any overlaps with what you or your organization cares about and can talk about. From joining or being part of an existing community, you may actually learn more about your customers and find groups of people doing similar things that could open you up to opportunities for collaboration. I'm going to share a little bit around how to search for communities. You can do this on your phone, on your laptop. If you have it out there and you want to give it a go now, that's great as well. But it's really easy and you can do it right from the phone or laptop. There's several ways to find groups, and the specifics can change depending on your operating system and if your app is up to date. But basically, you go to the group section of within your Facebook app, and you'll see there's a Discover Group section. And this is where Facebook will suggest groups for you based on criteria such as pages you've liked, groups your friends are members of, and so on. You'll also find categories from like business to travel to books, hobbies to health and education. And you'll also be able to see pages that you follow that have a group. So there is a wide range of ways that you can really discover communities. Lastly, you can also search using keywords if you haven't found what you're looking for, and also looking within your local area. So once you've searched for communities that are relevant or interested to you, the second step is really to commit to your tribe or that community and joining the groups that you find most relevant on Facebook. And, we suggest really finding a handful of groups that are relevant, that are most relevant versus joining so many. So the ones that are most important to find for you or the right groups, and really try and understand the groups versus joining so many that, you won't be able to engage and build that or foster that community that these communities are also creating. So you want to make sure you're engaging in the right communities and being part of the conversation. So joining the most relevant group is important. The key question to remember here, as you're discovering groups, is what groups can you add value to, or will you add value to as well? Next, as we think about engaging the community. So firstly, there's 3 types of groups. There's public and visible, so that's really open to everyone. And then there's private and visible, and private and hidden. And I'll share a little bit more about it. But the privacy settings of your group, public or private, tell you who can see your group's content and its members. In a private group, only members can see who's in the group and what they post. And in a public group, anyone can see who's in the group and what they post, including non-members. And in a private yet hidden group, those are usually where you may create a small group for your family members to connect and share across different time zones or whatever it is. So those tend to be the groups that you can share links to those members that you really want to join, and they are not visible. If you're requesting to join a group, some groups do have a membership question or membership questions, such as the one on the screen, and you may be asked to answer these questions. So when you've been approved, or after you've answered the questions, if they are membership questions, when you've been approved into the community, we really think it's important to start understanding it better. And to understand the community better, we suggest reviewing community rules, exploring posts that have already been there before you joined, and how members engage. This really will give you a better view of the overall community and its culture. And once you understand the culture of the group, it's important to introduce yourself and start commenting on some of the posts, and contribute where or when you feel is a natural fit to topics that you're interested in, posts that you're interested in, or comments that you can also add value to. So it's really important to read the community rules so you don't get banned from the group. And rules keep the community safe or help keep the community safe, and focused on the relevant topics. Introducing yourself in the post and connecting with others really allows you to start building that momentum and the connections and that sense of belonging with the wider community members. Some tips for introducing yourselves are your name, where you're from, how you connect to the topic of the group, even sharing maybe a personal story, and really connecting from others or with others from your base of experience and values. So I'm going to dive into some groups' best practices. These best practices are really for those of you looking to set up a Facebook group. So first up is choosing the best settings for your group. As mentioned, there's different privacy levels. So depending on what your objectives are for the community, really choosing the privacy level that works best. Deciding whether you want post approvals or not. So post approvals are whether or not everyone can post and it doesn't get reviewed for approval, or whether your team or other moderators and admins will need to review the post before it gets approved. Also, whether or not you can have anyone adding members or certain team members or admins adding new members. We also suggest using a cover photo and posting often in the group to illustrate your commitment to the community. Next is communicating the group's purpose. This is really around creating the right group rules, posting your group rules, and adding a description to communicate the group's purpose. Next is inviting your first few members. So starting with a core handful of engaged people will really help create the foundation and who will add content before others arrive, but also the right type of content that you're wanting to foster and build for that community. Another thing is to think about encouraging easy member participation. So posting in a group as a new member can be quite intimidating, and making people's voices feel heard using things such as polls or Facebook Live or asking open-ended questions to those new members will also engage easy member participation. Next up is really assembling your team of admins and moderators. It takes a village to raise kids. It takes a village to build a community as well. And many teams we see, or many community leaders we see, have multiple admins and a moderation team that works with them to really help engage and build the community and keep the community safe. It's also helpful to engage and set the right tone. So demonstrating to the members the importance of being active as an admin. That can include things such as creating content calendars or commenting on other people's posts, engaging on members' posts, and really building that interaction and ensuring that you're able to set the right tone for the community that you're wanting to foster. And lastly, reviewing your insights and measuring your results. I'll share a little bit more about group insights in a little bit, but we have a group insights tool within Facebook groups, and the groups insights tool really helps you to understand when your members are most active, and can schedule posts. You can then schedule posts accordingly, acknowledge your top member contributors, and a variety of other things, which I'll share in a little bit. But let's dive into the group insights so that you can see what I'm talking about. So this is just for illustration purposes. It kind of shows you a little bit around what group insights looks like. Group insights is visible for groups that have 50 members or more. And many groups or many admins use group insights to understand their trends or their group membership trends and activity. And some admins tend to recognize like their top 10 contributors. It might be the people who've had the most posts or comments and featuring them in a post. And group insights are great to view the real-time metrics. So, for example, you can view the growth of your community. So how many new members. You can also see the growth in engagement. So the number of posts, comments, reactions, etc. In addition, you can also see some of the most popular days. So this will give you some insights into maybe when is right for you to post, or what timings. They can help you target important messages to be posted at certain times or at certain days and times that's going to get the most attention. And then you can also see the top posts. So the top post is actually a great opportunity for you to think about, or giving you that, overview of the posts the most posts that are being, or the most content that's being posted, the person that's posted and engaged on the post, and they reveal the posts that receive the most likes, comments, and views on any given day. So reviewing popular posts can help you identify the type of posts that people enjoy. And if you're looking to increase member participation in your group, you could consider posting similar content. So diving into the key takeaways, I hope that you've been able to get some insights around why communities and groups are so important, but how they also help people and connect people across causes and really support people. And if you're not part of any groups, you hopefully will have some tools to find groups that are relevant to you and connect with those communities. Groups foster community, and as a business or as a community leader or a small, business owner, community is important for much of the work that we do and is really the foundation of society as well. Key takeaway as well is really thinking about being part of that conversation. So groups provide an excellent opportunity for businesses specifically to connect and have conversations with your customers, build community around your cause or area of focus. And these conversations can give you insight into what matters most to them, and help you tailor how you use Facebook, and maybe decide on messaging and how you want to support your customers further. So if you're interested in more tips, you can head on over to our community hub. It's a one-stop resource center for building a thriving community. And actually there's a wide range of tips and best practices here from other admins, who are running groups of every type of vertical possible. And, they're sharing their best tips and best practices, which we always find is, the best of the best. So do head on over there if you get a chance. And I'll pause there. And happy to dive into any questions.
Hey, Mai's got a whole bunch of great questions here. At last count, there were 4 questions, in fact. So Mai, why don't you go live, unmute yourself, and ask maybe 2 of your favorite questions?
Okay, hi Grace. No, because obviously, Splice is about startup media. So I was just wondering, are there any startup media outlets that are utilizing Facebook groups for their community building?
Yeah, so great question. And to be honest, a lot of the work we do are with community leaders. Education communities or leaders who are running, such as the Global Educators Collective, or we have one community in particular, which is FH Moms, Filipina home-based moms. And it's a parenting, freelancing, and entrepreneurship group for Pinoy moms in the Philippines. And they are using, those are the types of communities that we're supporting, but they're really working with their communities to help them land online jobs. They do create opportunities within the group, such as, free access to monthly lives, consultations, monthly events where they bring in experts to talk around different topics. So speaking from the work that we do with the community leaders, obviously there's a wide range of opportunities for communities to be built. Within the startup space, that's not really an area that we tend to work in, but happy to share other examples that we see from the community leaders that we support.
Yeah, just interesting. So maybe not startup, maybe just media. Are there media who are building their communities? Doesn't have to be startup. Like, is The Guardian building their community? That I think the answer is no. But
no. So I mean, actually, so I know that there are communities like even I believe South China Morning Post that's supported or managed by our news partnerships as well, or have a relationship there. they do have their own communities as well. So I do see that communities are being formed across a wide range of verticals, because with anything, or with communities in particular, there is the opportunity to foster a slightly deeper sense of connection with your audience than, in a didactic or a one-directional way.
Absolutely. Yeah. A follow-up question to that, which I didn't put in the chat. So if you're a startup media, right, and you want to build community, sorry, I keep going back to that because it's nice. And you want to build community using Facebook groups. And most startup media outlets are just 3 people, right? And part of your slides, you're saying like, you need to really look at your admin and your moderation and all that. And as a community builder, our role is so, it's like it's in the middle of many things. Are you marketing? Are you content creation? So if you look at it in the business setting, you're like in a bit of you're over the place pretty much. So it's only lately that community has been recognized as an industry, that the term community professionals is actually like people kind of have an understanding of it, right? But if you're a startup and then you want to build, whether it's a media startup or not, right? A small outfit, you want to build your community on groups. What tips would you give, given that, it's a long tail, it's a relationship building thing, right? Like community is relationship building. It's showing up every day. It's posting, it's insights, it's getting to know the people in the group. So like, what kind of tips can you give if, you're such a small team and you want to really give an honest stab at it?
Yeah, I think you raised some great points there, Mai. At the end of the day, it is a long journey, and community isn't built overnight, and it takes a lot of fostering. And I know from my personal experience in running my own businesses and building communities myself on Facebook group, so that it takes a lot of efforts, but it's about how do you interconnect it to your marketing strategies, the plans that you already have, so that everything builds I don't like to use the word funnel, but really thinking about the opportunities that you can engage. They're an additional touch point for existing audiences that you already have. And so, yeah, happy to take it offline as well and chat further with you. But I do understand where you're coming from. And I think it's about like understanding why you want to build the community, the objectives of having the community for the needs of your business, and will it add more value to your business, at the point of where your business is right now, because a startup has to always prioritize, right? And I know that's always hard when startups love to also create new opportunities all the time. So yeah, I'm happy to chat with you as well offline on that.
All right. A few. I think I had one on community accelerator. But
Yeah.
We're going to come back to you.
Question.
Somebody stop this enthusiasm. I love this. This is like one community person to another. This is why we love Mai.
Exactly.
Seriously. So cool. But listen, Haslina, would you like to jump in with your question about CSOs and NGOs? That was kind of cool.
Sure, thanks for that. Well, my question was, what more can we do to encourage professional organizations like media associations or journalist associations to jump on board and tap on the functions of the Facebook community group? So far from what I've seen, it works for things like webinars, for example, and then you post recorded content over there. I've seen some organizations do that. But in terms of truly engaging the community, especially the younger ones, what more can we do to encourage these NGOs or CSOs who are for media professionals? Thanks, Grace.
I think that's a really interesting question. Again, just to highlight, a lot of our work is with community leaders who are working full-time jobs on top of building these communities. So we don't work with organizations per se who are creating communities themselves. But I do think a part of it is that, to Mai's point, it's pretty new for many people, right? This ecosystem or this world of community is still very new to many people, especially online communities. And so part of it is also about educating the power of communities or the opportunities for organizations to build a connection with an audience in a very different way. And I think there's still a lot of work there. Some of the work we're doing in the Community Accelerator, we work with the community leaders who are looking to grow. And they are looking to grow their communities into either new geographical area, new geographies, or reach. And we're also giving them access to grants. So we do have a grant that we provide them, and potential connections to the wider ecosystem of partners as well. But it is a new industry, and it is a new area, this whole community building space. I think even more so potentially in Asia. I've been myself a community builder for 12 years, and building offline communities and both online communities. And I know the industry 12 years ago from now has shifted to where we are, but there's still a lot of education, because it's not just about selling your products in there or posting for people to see. As we shared, really community is that give and trust, sense of belonging and connection, and it is that give and take on both, all the members that are involved in there, and whether you're a community leader building it for yourself or an organization, it's really about how do you keep those principles in mind, because community is something you want to foster for the long run.
So Grace, there's a little bit of self-interest here in inviting you on to speak about this, okay? So Splice Media has a group. It has a group with maybe 2 of us in it, and we have a great conversation in there about nothing. So this is where it gets a bit cumbersome for an organization like ours, because we're B2B. We work with media startups across this region. Those are the communities that we want to serve. How do we think about our group strategy around this stuff and community strategy around this stuff? Just because, in my mind at least, our customers, our audience, our community is largely B2B. Is there a space for that, and what's possible?
I think, again, very interesting question. And I think B2B has very different needs. So I always go back to what is the why behind why you're setting up the community, and what is the value that you're hoping to create within that community, and what is missing, right? Like, why do you think this would be an opportunity for the businesses that you're working with, the other organizations that you're working with, to be in there? What can they get in there that, other than further information, et cetera, but like, what else? Like, where are you seeing there's a gap or there's an opportunity? There are groups of like entrepreneur communities sharing, right? Small businesses groups, things like that. So there are those types of groups that have worked. And I think it's very much going back to thinking about what is your why? And then from there, thinking about like, where does it fit in your bigger marketing channels or marketing strategy? Not wearing my marketing hat here, but I think it's important to understand, like, what does success look like for this community in 6 months, in 12 months? And those are just some questions that hopefully you guys can get started with. But again, happy for you to pick my brain offline anytime.
The interesting thing, just to pick up from what Alan was saying, I have a question about segmentation of audiences. So, even looking at the wonderful people we have on here, I mean, so for example, we have collaborators. We have, Shirley online, we have Janicia here, and we collaborate with these folks on our work. We have people from media startups here. Right. So we've got, we have Fahad, who works for a news media startup in Pakistan. We have we have Christine from the Thompson Foundation. So that's an NGO, and they do grants. So these are all different parts of our ecosystem. Would I we have people joining Splice Beta. So would I want to create a different group for each one of these separate communities or sub-communities that we have? Or would you recommend having one umbrella Splice Media Facebook group and somehow bringing it all together under that umbrella?
So I think that's a tough question to answer, only because, again, I would want to, from the experience we have at Facebook, we have seen where communities have formed around events, and that you create. So say with the Splice Beta, you would have communities for everyone that's attended any one of your Splice Beta online sessions and bringing them into there. So that may be the easiest way, say, to kickstart a group or a community for Splice Beta. But, thinking about segmentation, again, not my area of expertise, but just from like my personal experience in the past, it would also be thinking about who are your biggest audiences, right? Or who is the most important? It's not even the biggest audience, right? Which audience is the most important for you to hit your business objectives and your goals? So, that's probably coming from that marketing side. But again, like, I think the goal of having a community is to ensure that it aligns to your business objectives. And it's not about just having community for the sake of having communities. So making sure that it's the right community, because it does take a lot of time. And, to what Mai shared earlier, you require a team. And if you're a small team, it's also about where do you put your efforts and energy into. And that's why sometimes also connecting with existing communities, doing collaborations with existing communities. You might be part of an existing community and have an opportunity to do something within their online community, right? And being experts within that online community that already have, values alignment and organizational, alignment with some of the objectives that you're thinking about with their members. So that may be an easier way initially for an organization, but yeah.
Cool. Hey, Grace, I want to introduce you to Fahad Malik from The Current in Pakistan. Fahad, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, I think you've got an interesting one here.
Thank you so much, Alan, for introducing me. So my question is that because we are planning to start the first membership model in Pakistan, I want to know that what tools we can use to get a deep insight about who is our audience, what they are using, where they are coming from. I just want to know that there are certain certifications of Facebook Blueprint which tells you about marketing tools, strategy, and other related stuff that you can use for your company. So is it a good idea to go for those certifications, or should I just, keep on experimenting, studying, and, go and review some literature on it? What exactly you suggest, because you have lots of experience about it? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fahad. And I'm definitely not experienced on the marketing side, so that would probably be a different team member from Facebook. But I know there's a world of information on the Blueprint website. And even within our own community hub as well. So I don't think I'm the best person to answer that question, because I work very much within the community partnerships world.
No problem. Thank
you. Karen, jump in and ask your question about different ways that people are using FB groups.
You asked. Grace, just wondering, I think with the whole COVID situation, have you seen anything interesting or any changes in the way people are using Facebook groups?
We've definitely seen a growth of people coming onto groups. And, I think we've also seen the importance of groups at this time, because when people are isolated or not able to have that in-person connection, groups have provided an opportunity for them to get the support that they may have needed. So, again, I'll share the Global Educators Collective community, because they started and they were born out of COVID. So it's a community in Thailand that supports other educators or educators when schools went online. Teachers needed to understand what to do, how to support themselves in this new world and this new normal, when many may not have even had experience in teaching online. So those are the types of groups that we've seen say come on. Or there was also a community called a duck farmers community, and this community is about Indonesian duck farmers and how they're using Facebook groups to thrive during the current economic climate or COVID situation and contribute to their local economy together. So they ended up turning to Facebook, using lives to talk about things, to teach each other, to support each other, and really build that connection that they may have missed previously from either going to the markets or anything like that. So we are seeing these communities form in pretty amazing ways. And it shows as well, I guess, like what we can do from afar using a tool such as Facebook groups at this time.
Thank you.
Duck farmers forever.
Lucky for them.
I know.
More tacos. On that note, Grace, thank you so much for the insight and the knowledge. This has been really wonderful. Really appreciate it. Everybody, this recording will be made available within 24 hours. It'll be on our resources page. So if you go to splicebeta.com/resources, you'll see the video recording to this. You'll see a summary of this conversation, and you'll also see all the interesting chats that have been happening in the chat box. So go to that in a few hours. And thank you so much for taking the time and spending that with us today. Also, one very quick thing. We are matching people with mentors. So if you have a specific need in your media startup that you need a mentor to help you figure something out, get in touch with us. You know how to reach us. We have a few people that we would like you to meet. So with that, we want to thank you to our sponsors. Thank you again to our sponsors for making all of this happen. Thank you again for your time.